but it's like you want to recreate that camaraderie with your buddies, but you know, you want a little bit more meat than, you know, just your typical little like light arcadey co-op game that, you know, Surfpunk is going to be for you. And of course, if you like anime and like sexy characters, that's going to help as well.
Oh, where did this crazy idea come from, first and foremost?
Where did it come from? So actually, I think it came from a pretty humble idea of like how we could sort of rejuvenate the dungeon crawler, the whole idea of a dungeon crawler. So a lot of us here at Double Stallion, you know, we like kind of these old school dungeon crawlers like Diablo or Gauntlet and these kinds of things. But we, you know, obviously these are always in a literal dungeon, a pit in the ground or caves or something. And there's corridors, and you know, you go in one room and you kill all the monsters, and then you walk down a hallway down to the next room and kill all the monsters. And it felt like that had been kind of done so many times. You know, how could we do this in a more interesting way? And so, you know, so first of all, we were like, okay, what if it was outside? And then how do you make outside exciting? And then second of all, like corridors are boring. Nobody wants to fight in corridors. So what if you're just on a surfboard and it's got a rocket powered engine? Then you can zip way faster through the corridors. And so we started on this idea of just like having like a dungeon that instead of being rooms, it's actually an archipelago. So there's different islands and you're going from island to island. That obviously led to the kind of pirate theme. And then we wanted to make it unique. So, you know, we drew in from different influences that I liked. A lot of influence actually from like 2000s era games. I was a big like Dreamcast kid, so things like Skies of Arcadia and like definitely played a part in influencing the look of the game. And yeah, I mean, that was sort of the genesis, and it's kind of what I was saying earlier. You start with kind of like just a general idea, like I want to make a dungeon crawler that's original and that's not just in a dank pit in the ground. And then it's like from there, it becomes easier and easier to just tack on ideas that just like work with that vision. So that's really how we got started.
Silver in chat is mentioning how the game is so much brighter and lighthearted than what we're used to when it comes to this genre, and like everyone is going for the dark and gritty and like are slaying demons, you are in those dungeons, so it really feels like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Let me tell you, we had there was a lot of doubt that would actually click with players, because when people are so used to, you know, ARPGs looking a certain way, it can be difficult and scary to kind of come with something different. But I had a lot of reasons why I thought that had its place on the market, and I wanted to give it a shot. And so far, I think the reception's been positive enough that, you know, I think it was the right idea. And really, you know, I think it's worth mentioning. So, by the way, I love a bunch of grimdark games, including Diablo. But to me, it's not really valuable to just kind of do that again. And I think as much as Diablo, you know, is a game that you can play in multiplayer, to me, it always felt like I was playing next to my friends and not really with them. Like I'm really just worrying about leveling my character, and there's not much interaction with the other players. And so with Surfpunk, we kind of wanted to like flip that on its head. And just focus on we actually built it as a co-op experience first, and then we added like our ARPG elements. And so that's why it's not exactly the same idea. And there's a lot of mechanics like boosting your friends up cliffs, pulling the barge together, like picking up a friend who falls in the water, these kinds of things. These were all designed in a way that there's a lot of interactions. A lot of the skills will like boost each other and help each other out. And you know, it makes more sense to me in a kind of like more vibrant setting, because you want that kind of positive camaraderie. And we're seeing right now, one of the trends right now in gaming is like a kind of what people call Friendslop, where everybody just wants to get together and play these crazy ass games where there's stupid stuff that happens and it's really funny. And I think Surfpunk can kind of fit into that. It's of a caliber that it's like, yeah, it's serious. The combat is serious. The combat mechanics, like everything we've built, has actual depth to it. But it's also just a game fundamentally about coming in and having fun and not taking it so seriously.
I mean, at least from what I'm seeing, I still try not to spoil myself until 1.0 comes out, but Surfpunk is a little bit more meaty, in my opinion, than what you would call Friendslop. Like, there's actual gameplay that gets you invested rather than, ha ha ha, let's just have a good time, which is perfectly fine, but there's a little bit of more action, more focus on the action with Surfpunk, at least that's my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope people won't actually label it Friendslop. That's not what I meant. I just meant that those games like
Okay.
often have like a big emphasis on the co-op aspects, and we definitely want to hit that too. But of course, we're kind of old school action gamers. Like we're building this with skill trees and with a lot of depth that you wouldn't necessarily get in those games. And I hope players will come to appreciate that.
Something that I'm curious about is because you said it kind of found its place on the market. So, what were some of the positive signals, or what was something that were telling you folks we're headed in the right direction? I believe people are going to enjoy this.
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like YouTube comments and stuff out there. Not all good, but I remember when we released our demo in December, there was one comment I remember that I took to heart, which was something like, this was better than anything I saw at the Game Awards, because we released the demo like a few days after the Game Awards. We couldn't get into the Game Awards, of course. But just reading that, I was like, okay, that's encouraging, right? And also just sometimes I talk about the influences from early 2000s games, and when I see players be like, that's it, like I felt that as well, that's very comforting and reassuring that that's kind of coming through. And I think the reason why I like kind of harkening back to that era is it's not just a nostalgia, but I think while there were kind of serious and grimdark games at that time there, of course, I do think there was a much larger volume of kind of high caliber and AAA games of the time that were in bright settings, but that weren't necessarily, were still kind of action packed, right? I think of stuff, particularly from like Japanese publishers. There was a lot of action games, and I mentioned the Dreamcast earlier, on Dreamcast or otherwise, that were vibrant, colorful, but that packed a lot of action and a lot of punch. And I always enjoyed those games because it's like, well, I'm normally in my basement that's kind of dank and I'm playing these games. I want to experience something that's kind of out there and beautiful. I don't necessarily always want to go into some dark universe. More recently, I feel like there aren't a lot of options for that. And so hopefully Surfpunk can kind of carve out a niche, and other people can kind of come in there and have a good time, but they're still kind of like, they still gotta have skills to play.
I can imagine the discussion like on the drawing board. So, how do you make this particular type of game without giving people more depression than they already got from the other games?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious because you mentioned this period that you're targeting. So would you say like you were targeting a specific type of audience, or what's there for certain audiences to find and to enjoy, and maybe what feedback did you get from different people who are enjoying Surfpunk?
Like who are we sort of building it for?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. I mean, it's sort of in that co-op session based space. So people who like Helldiver, we actually like the original Helldivers, but Helldivers 2 obviously came out since we started working on Surfpunk. But I think that type of session, or even things like Deep Rock Galactic, or I'm a big fan of Monster Hunter as well. These are all games where you can kind of play online. You can get together with your friends, do a couple of sessions, and maybe do a few sessions on your own, like when your friends go to bed and you want to keep grinding out something. And so I want to do something like that, but that was maybe a little bit like obviously cheaper. These are kind of like AA, AAA games there, so they often come with a price tag. I want to have something that's kind of entry point. We want to have something that's affordable, that it's easy to kind of convince your friends to just pick it up and then jump into a session as quickly and effortlessly as possible, and just kind of play it out and grind out and build up your character and have a good time, right? And so I really, it's about building a game. I guess one way of thinking about it is like, I want to try to build this experience where it's like, imagine when you used to play these games in your living room, like on an N64 or a Dreamcast with 4 controllers, but we're doing it online because it's 2026. But it's like you want to recreate that camaraderie with your buddies. And so if that's the kind of thing you're into, but you want a little bit more meat than just your typical little like light arcadey co-op game, then Surfpunk is going to be for you. And of course, if you like anime and like sexy characters, that's going to help as
well. By the way, folks, you can also ask questions because Eric is here, like prime time to ask someone who's working on the project about it. Just as a little reminder. But speaking of which, what are people telling you about the game now? Like, what do they enjoy? What they feel like that could be improved? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, lots of stuff. Some people will like, just pick out like the small quality of life things there. And that's obviously when you release a demo before a full game, that's why you're doing it, right? The reason why we're doing it is because we don't want to just release a 1.0 and then everybody's like, hey, there's all these gaping holes that you didn't see. Why didn't you fix these? So we're doing it now. We're offering it a free slice of the game so that people can kind of help us improve it, right? So we're responding to comments. We're trying to fix things. I guess like one thing I could name that's been pretty big right now, recently on my mind is there's a bit of there's a discussion around the pacing of the game that we're still trying to figure out. Where some players are playing, particularly players that play in single player only, will find that the pacing of the game is slower than they would have expected. But then some people don't have that feeling. Some people only play in multiplayer and they have a whole different experience. And so it's really challenging, I think, to build a game. We don't want to remove the single player completely because we know a lot of people still enjoy it. It is playable in single, even if we're building it with multiplayer first in mind. But right now we're trying little things to sort of figure out, okay, how can we balance it so that, everybody, no matter how many people you're playing with, you're having like a pretty good experience and the pacing feels right. And that's often like minutia detail, right? It's like, well, sometimes we're literally increasing like movement speed by like 5% and it actually it feels different, or we're changing the distance between the islands, or we're changed the timer on the mission, so you have more time or you have less time. All these little micro things can have like a huge impact on the end user and their experience and their impression of the speed and the pacing of the game.
Because you said that you want these different audiences, like people who play solo, people who play multiplayer, to still have fun. I'm curious if you are doing certain things or adjusting certain elements to make the transition from solo to multiplayer, like to hint, all right, you're playing solo now, it's fun and all, but what if you played with more people?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. Yes, we are doing that. But we don't want to like force anyone. Some people they just don't want to play with other people, and that's totally fine. And that's why we allow it. But one of the well, it's not a mechanic. One of the screens we're working on right now is like a ready up screen. So this will probably be in the next patch. So basically, once you select the mission, you have to go to this platform to start the mission. So we added like an actual UI pop-up that shows you like the 4 slots for your party of 4. And so if you're playing alone, the other slots are empty, and then there's an add like invite friend button. And when you click that, it opens up your Steam friend list. And so it's just kind of a subtle nudge that like, hey, like your party's not complete. Why don't you like add a friend? And so stuff like that, I think, especially in a demo where people like have really short attention spans, they want to know right away what kind of game it is. So now when they get this, they'll sort of like get the idea of, oh, okay, I get it. It's like a 4-player co-op game.
I'm mentioning this because I've recently played Absolom, so I was playing that for a couple of good hours, got my endings and whatnot, but then saw that the experience could use a little bit of something different. So I just went to their servers and I was like, hey, does anyone want to play? And ever since I tried co-op, I'm like, I'm not going back to single player again.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I actually I want to play up so badly. I haven't had a chance to do it, but
I
yeah,
fully
it's cool.
recommend it. Absolutely amazing game. So yeah, I'm curious, like if people would go from single player to multiplayer now, would they have any reasons to go back to single player? Like, is there something that is gonna not sit right for someone?
I mean, at the moment, not so much. I mean, there's obviously differences in balancing. Like the game,
Hmm.
the enemies and stuff are easier to kill. Like your backpack capacity is bigger when you're alone. There's all kinds of little things that we do on the back end to help with the single player. I think eventually my dream, and I'm not promising anything, but my dream is that we can actually add like a pet that follows you, like a kind of like a bot, so it can help you do the things that normally you do as a team. So for example, like in the game has like a mild crafting system where you're building like craftable like tools and things like ladders and flares that call in supply drops. And in co-op, this is a cooperative experience because if two or more players are building like hammering at the crafting project at the same time, it's going to complete a lot faster. And so right now, like you build stuff faster if you're playing alone. But eventually, what I'd like to do is actually have like a bot that just comes and then builds it with you. So at least, even if you're not playing with an actual fleshy human somewhere, you're still kind of getting a taste of that experience. But unfortunately, just the programming and like system balancing required to do that kind of feature is like months of our time, and we don't. There's so many other things that we feel are more important to do first. So we'll do those things. Hopefully go into early access. If we get a good reception, then that'll be one of the options of stuff that we can add down the line.
No, we're talking about the players a lot because, well, the players are the focus of any game, but
Of
since this
course.
is a co-op game, or at least co-op is kind of the main thing, I'm curious how you folks are trying to build a community that is healthy, because when there's multiplayer involved, things happen. So I'm trying to understand if you're doing something to avoid certain things happening and building a healthy community around Surfpunk.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I don't know that we're doing anything like particularly special other than, we're trying to, like me in particular and some of my colleagues, we just want to be there and involved and let people understand that we care about the players and we're actually humans building the game and we're trying to do it as best we can for them, right? And for everyone. At the end of the day, a happy player is a happy dev, and that's what matters most to me. I like to think that when you build a PvE game as opposed to a PvP game, you're automatically kind of like avoiding a lot of the toxicity that tends to exist in multiplayer games. And so certainly I would hope that, as the community grows and stuff, that's maintained, that at the end of the day, everybody's kind of working together. And that's kind of reflected in how we built the game, like lore wise, where these characters that you play as are called raiders. They're sort of like these like party dudes that are like badass warriors, but they just like to have a good time. And so they don't really naturally have this aggressive attitude. I mean, they kill monsters, but like amongst each other, they're just like, "Hey, bruh, like we're gonna do this." And it's like that. Ultimately, that's what I want the players to feel too. It's like, "Hey, we're all in this together. We're just trying to level up." And so even in the design of the game, there aren't really any like real competitive factors. Like you can't griefing each other would actually just hurt yourself. And you can like loot is evenly distributed, so there's no such thing as like no, you stole that chest and I was trying to get that loot. It's like it doesn't matter because the game totals everything and it duplicates all the items so that everybody gets an even number of materials at the end of the mission.
What are some other tweaks that people can see in game, that contribute to this feeling of camaraderie and like we're just here to have a fun time, slay some monsters, and have a good time together, rather than no, it's my loot, no, it's my loot.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. Yeah.
um, I'm curious if you can say anything about what we can expect in the future from Surfpunk.
Yeah, I mean, well, in the short term, we still have a couple of updates that we want to do for the demo itself. And it's going to be a mix of quality of life and kind of building out other features. But ultimately, I think the big thing that I'm really eager for, and I'm sure a lot of players who've played the demo are as well, is mission variety. So the demo currently has one mission type, where you collect these big crystals and you have to bring them back to your barge and escape with them. But the ultimate plan is that we're going to actually have like a couple of these different types of missions. And so I don't want to spoil kind of what we're preparing, but eventually we will have different ones. So that'll add like, I think, a ton of variety to the experience players will have. And then we also have side objectives. So when you do a mission, there's kind of these side events that you can do. So like you'll defend an area from like waves of enemies, or you'll go activate switches like they're scattered around the islands. So we're going to add more of these. So you get like more random experiences and side things you can do. And beyond that, of course, our skill tree in the demo is like really limited right now. There's still like a ton we want to add in there so that players want to kind of have this extrinsic goal that the reason why they're kind of grinding out is because they want to get these super cool builds. The reason why we didn't come out of the gate with a full skill tree, other than the fact that obviously we can't put everything in a demo there. At some point, we have to save it for the full release. But it's also that we just wanted to refine the core experience. Like ultimately, if players are enjoying playing the game, even with a limited amount of upgrades, then that's like a really good sign. It means that adding all the upgrades and all the skills is just going to be a huge plus after that. But we didn't want to kind of like have like a sort of okay experience, and then we're trying to compensate with like a bunch of unlocks. We're trying to do like, let's do the great experience first on its own. And then, okay, people are like, oh, maybe it's a bit repetitive, but then it's like, okay, but then we're going to add this huge carrot of just like all these skills and these outfits and things you can unlock. So that's what's coming.
Does the progress from the demo will it transition to the full game or to the early access version, or is it just for them to try?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And yes, the intention is that we do want to save to transition to the full game. That being said, the caveat is that I can't promise this only because for technical reasons, we could get constrained. Like it's always possible that something's going to come up that's going to make it difficult to do that. One example is like if we realize that as we're building out the metagame that, I don't know, too many players are like, you have to overhaul the system or something, and then it wouldn't be compatible. We might have to reset certain things. But, my promise is that no matter what, if we do need to roll back certain things, we'll find a way to compensate the players that have played a lot. So, even if they resets their level, they'll get like a bunch of gold and materials so they can kind of like spike up faster after that. But plan A is definitely that it'll just transition. That was just plan B.
I believe you already have like a companion website for Surfpunk already where people can get a few extra things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the community hub, the harbor. So that was a cool thing. It's the first time we work with that. It's actually built by the developers of Sworn. So people who've played Sworn might be familiar with a similar system.
Hello.
And so they've been really cool to work with. And the reason why we did that was partly because we knew we couldn't commit to too much content right now. And so what the community hub allows us to do is we can kind of like promise different cosmetics and things that we know we're going to have eventually, but they're not built yet. And so people who are early adopters and they're helping us by playing the demo and giving us feedback, they can still get these kinds of rewards that will eventually come to them. And the intent is that these things are going to be timed exclusive. So once the early access or the 1.0 comes out, they probably won't be available anymore through that. We maybe will sell them for like a cost, but everybody who got them early, those are just, you got them for free and they're yours to keep, right? So that's just kind of like a small way to reward players and incentivize them so that they feel like it's worth playing the early build. And thank you so much for playing it. Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. We're talking about things that they can expect in the future or not, but I believe you announced that they can get something pretty interesting a couple of days ago. So let's show them what they can expect, right?
Sure, let's go.
Hey there, you up or surf's up? Tired of games that take themselves too seriously? So dry. Then call the Surfpunk Hotline for an action-packed co-op adventure that's hot and wet water. So slip into something a little more comfortable. Not that. We'll wear anything you want or nothing at all. When you call Surfpunk Hotline, you can ride out with friends, dive into flooded islands, and when it's time to pull out, relax and unwind on the Beast ship. Ooh, Beast. And when you're ready, hack and slash through waves of enemies, push deeper into ancient ruins, and embark on a radical high-stakes adventure. But not until you have protection. Oh yeah. All in. Play the demo. Wishlist on Steam.
Now, I kept asking this a lot throughout our interview, but how the heck did this idea come up?
Yeah, so we had an opportunity recently to be in the Quebec Game Celebration, which is this regional sale on Steam. And they had a showcase. We had to do a demo, and we didn't have a ton of time to build the patch. And our designer and programmer were working on some like core features to set up like our content pipeline. But our artists were kind of free, and we wanted to build a lot of like cosmetics into the patch. So we were trying to find a way that we could sort of display this. Someone from our marketing partner suggested the idea of this kind of retro sex hotline, and that immediately spoke to me. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's just try it and go for it. And when you're indie, you have to try different ways of marketing your ideas, right? And so that kind of just came up naturally and sort of fit that whole idea.
Am I gonna regret if I'm going to ask what were kind of the ideas floating when you came up with this campaign? Like with this specific trailer?
No, I don't know. No, it's nothing. It's
I'm
nothing really
kidding.
beyond what I just said. Like, I think it fits because there are obviously a few nostalgic things that influence the game, and this kind of has this '90s vibe there with the VHS and all that. And the girls and boys in swimsuits. I mean, it just fits. It's not foreign to the game. I mean, they're surfers. They're gonna wear swimsuits.
Or
And I think
nothing
a lot
at
of
all.
players- Yeah, or nothing at all. Yeah, that part. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was one of our artists was just like, hey, we could, like I could make this like a filter that we can just make with a mosaic. Obviously you get a lot of players that build mods for popular games and they just make them nude, and we can't do that because then suddenly we get this adults only label and stuff. But we thought it was funny to put the mosaic. And so, yeah, if you call in the number, there's a recording, there's someone who'll talk to you and he'll give you the cheat code that you need in order to unlock that free skin.
Absolutely crazy. Like, I know that someone commented when we announced we'll do the interview, and they're like, how can they make such a fun action game and with such hot characters? And I'm like, dude, did you see the last trailer? No. Here, take it. It's for you.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of thing, like Ubisoft, like they're never going to be able to do that, right? Like it's just AAA can't make features like that, but indies can. So, why not? Like that's, I think what makes the difference is that you can do stupid stuff like that. And a lot of players are going to dig it and some won't, and that's okay. They don't have to buy the game. But for those that do enjoy it, they're happy to see it. And for us, I think it's good too, because even though it's like a silly gag, it helps kind of ground the game as like, no, this is built for, adults. It's not a kid's game, and and then that's okay, right? Like, let's just go with that.
This is a game where, like, you have the action component, but at the same time, you don't need to take yourself too seriously all the time. You're here to have a fun time.
Exactly. That's what it is.
I'm curious about the reception of the people when they saw the trailer. Like, what did they say? Is there some recurring theme among what the feedback was?
Yeah, I was pretty nervous about it before it came out, but I posted it on Reddit with kind of like my thinking behind it and stuff, and that did really well. People felt like it was on it, earnest, and ultimately they got the gag. Like it is a joke, at the end of the day. I mean, the outfits in the trailer are real, but I mean, like the framing of it is obviously a gag. And so I think it's been pretty positive. More recently, we've gotten a lot of attention from Brazil specifically for some reason. I think IGN Brazil might have covered us, but a lot of Western, like English-speaking media, didn't really redistribute the trailer. So I don't know if that's because of the content. I feel like we got covered more in Europe, so maybe Europe is just more open-minded about these things.
I don't know, maybe also have enough beaches so people kind of get it and like, oh, it's fun, we're going to the beach, we're gonna kill some monsters.
Yeah, just kill monsters on the beach. So.
I'm curious, since this is an interesting idea, if there were like game ideas that were initially there, like at the beginning, you wanted to add this, and this, and you were forced, I don't know, to cut them out because they couldn't quite fit the design, even though they were fun.
No, I mean, if they weren't, I can't think of something that was really fun that we had to cut out. Like usually the stuff we cut out, it's because it wasn't that fun in the end. I mean, maybe one thing that I haven't mentioned yet that could be interesting is that the initial prototype of the game was a 2D side scroller, like Convergence. So we initially started, I guess it was more like a Dead Cells thing, but like session based, but really very similar gameplay. But you would just go in like a side scrolling dungeon on an island. And there was only one island, so it didn't have surfing. It was just like you arrived on the island on a boat and then you would go get loot and then get out. But ultimately it just didn't feel right. It was kind of like it lacked kind of the same amount of exploration and stuff. And when this was right before we had sort of this idea of like, how do you make corridors in a dungeon more interesting? And then we were realizing that you'd get on an island, you'd be outside, but then ultimately to make an interesting level, you had to go into a cave anyway. So it wasn't really working. And then that's when we pivoted to top down and like making a 3D experience.
Were there like other perspectives that you were exploring outside of, obviously you've settled for the isometric perspective, but since you've tried the 2D side scroller, were there other ideas that were floating around about how should Surfpunk look and feel?
Yeah, I mean, we briefly considered doing like a full 3D, like behind like a third person thing. But ultimately we decided not to for scope reasons. There's a lot of like, because suddenly you have to have camera control and all these things. And we weren't sure we'd be able to bring it to the quality level that we wanted if we were to do that. Whereas isometric kind of like sort of keeps it a little simpler to manage, so that we can kind of go dive deeper on specific mechanics and specific things. So that's why we chose that route.
Alrighty then. Well, you told us a lot and we covered a lot, and this is just the demo. The game is still not fully out or in early access, so I expect there's gonna be some surprises for the people. Thanks a lot for talking to us today, and before we sign off, I have this tradition where if you could tell people only one thing, the people that are now watching one thing, what would that one be? Besides, go try Surfpunk. It's a demo and it's free.
If I could tell them one thing about Surfpunk, or about what?
In general, if this would be your last message towards the audience, it can be about Surfpunk. It can be about anything.
That's really open-ended. I guess I would say, like leaving a review is always helpful on a demo. It quantifies kind of like how many people play it. And when you leave feedback, if you fill out our survey, which is linked in the game, please do leave us your email if you can, because sometimes people will report bugs, or they'll say like, I hated this thing, but there's very little details. And then I can't like contact them to find out what the problem is. So we can't actually debug it and solve it. And so when you have issues with the game, it's always good to give us details, or at least a way to contact you so that we can find out more and so we can fix it and make it a better experience.
Help the developers make a better experience for you.
Help me help you.
Pretty much. It was an absolutely lovely chat. Thanks for being with us today, Eric, and thank you folks for listening. And kind of being excited about this game. I'm honestly curious to see what's gonna be in 1.0, but until then we have a little bit of time to wait so you can cook. So I'll leave you to that, and folks, have a nice one. If you enjoyed this interview, or if you would like other people to see the madness that these people are building, feel free to send it their way. It's gonna be uploaded, it's gonna be free to watch. Other than that, see you around for another interview.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.